practice called the home visit was actually a very interesting sort of practice that we started, in fact, 2 years into Riverside. I remember that after 2 years when we were meeting our children, and what happens when you meet children, you see one side of their story. You don't necessarily see the whole picture. And I think sometimes you might rush to forming judgments about either about the child or the home front because you don't necessarily understand, because you've not bothered to engage deeper, so assumptions might spring up. And I remember one such assumption that happened actually when one of my children was in grade 1, and we were having a conversation about what do you do when you go back home, and she said, you know, I watch television. And typically the hackles would rise and say, Arey, how can you not go down to play? And what kind of parents do you have? You know, that whole kind of jumping to conclusion. And I remember meeting that child's parents and again questioning, why don't you send the child to play? And she said, ma'am, why don't you come home? And I am so glad that that particular story started, because when me and my colleague went to this child's home, we were totally humbled and by the situation, because she lived in a place which did not have, of course, play area, but was in a busy street. And the only patch of play that my child was able to have was that little corridor outside of her home, just before the lift. And she lived in a home which had 12 other members in a single home. And I suddenly was struck by the sheer humility of what we set out to do, and the awakening that, my God, how quickly we jump to conclusions and assumptions. And the home visit actually became a process that started from there.